you have a survey out there of how people get their news. Is that correct? Is that the general idea?
That's correct. So over at the NewEnglandTake.com and YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, New England Take, critiquing the media and the impact it has on population has been a huge deal. And I call out the left and right. I've called out everyone from Matt Walsh all the way to CNN. Like, I don't care whether you're in the independent media, whether you're in in-state media or in the national level. It matters how you read the news and where you get your news. So my goal with this is I called it values in the media. So I want to figure out the connection between where you get your news and your values and figure out, is it A plus B equals C or is it A plus 23 equals purple? Like, do these things connect and how?
All right. So tell us, about the survey, some of the questions you're going to be asking, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I want to quiz you, Ken.
All right,
so we're going to do it. We're doing it live.
This is the honest program, folks.
Exactly. All right. So Ken, start off with. I think this is the most important part, just at the onset for everyone. Where do you get your news from? Is it newspapers, cable news, local TV? I see you got the Concord Monitor in front of you. Where's the primary places you get your news from?
Well, I would say one of them is the Concord Monitor. In fact, I do subscribe and I do read it. I don't always agree, but nonetheless, I feel it's important to stay on top of the local scene with the Concord Monitor, whether it be the newspaper or the online edition of the Monitor. And I also read, believe it or not, the Boston Globe, which leans about the same way as the Concord Monitor does, but I have to admit, I read the Globe mostly for sports.
Yeah, and that's the advantage with a larger regional outlet like that, is you're able to get that coverage because the Monitor doesn't have the staff to go cover every Celtics game.
Yeah, that's true. But they do have Eric Rinston-Lobel, since he has taken over sports at the Concord Monitor, and he's been on the show a few times, has done an amazing job with it. He really and truly has. And the Monitor really has better local sports coverage now than it has had in any number of years since Eric took over. It must be close to 2 years ago now. But at any rate, getting away from sports, I do watch regularly WMUR. Mm-hmm. I usually watch following the WMUR news at 6. I usually watch David Muir with the ABC News, mm-hmm. which sometimes gives me shivers and chills. And anyway, I sometimes watch it, and generally speaking, they're okay. I think of the three networks out there: ABC, CBS, NBC, that have nightly newscasts, mm-hmm. and I don't know how much longer they'll have them, but at any rate, I think ABC is more down the middle than the other two, even though they certainly do lean right to a certain lean left, I should say, to a certain extent. But I think they're at least in the ballpark anyway.
And I think when you get away from their big personalities they have on their morning shows and stuff like that, ABC and CBS are known for being kind of in the middle. They lean left, but generally speaking, the reporting is fairly reliable. Yeah.
And I must admit, I do watch my share of Fox News.
Yeah.
And well,
you got to get something that doesn't bother you in the mix, or bother you as much. I
can't tell you the last time that I ever had CNN on my TV or MSNBC, unless I see clips of it on Fox.
Yeah,
when they show the clips on Fox, I do see MSNBC and CNN, but. Other than that, I don't. They're not go-to for me.
All right. So next on the survey here, political affiliation. So I've got a whole bunch of things on here. I'm going to say you're center right. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Or would you say more conservative?
I would say center. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have some liberal views, but mostly lean to the right. So I would say center right. Yeah,
it's probably what most people are. Either center left or center right. You're going to have a mixed bag of different political topics that you think about. Most people are ideologues or dyed-in-the-wool either party.
Yeah.
All right. Social media, what do you use primarily? Facebook, X, or Twitter, LinkedIn? What do you use?
I would say primarily Facebook.
Yeah.
Some X or
Little
Twitter.
bit.
But I don't even go on Instagram or certainly not TikTok. I don't have TikTok. As an app. So no, it's mostly if I put something up on social media, 90% of the time it's going to be on Facebook. And I do look at X, and I saw your post this morning about this program,
yes,
which is great. And I sometimes promote the show on X, but not as much as Facebook. So Facebook, yeah. That would be my answer.
Now, personal question: what's your highest education you've completed?
Well, I went to broadcasting school after high school. Went to broadcasting school for a year in Boston, and was fortunate enough to get a job right out of there, and never looked back. So that's it.
Cool. All right. So now into the topics of interest. So this is where you see where the alignment might be. All right. Would you consider yourself hawkish on foreign policy? Yes, no, or unsure?
I would say no.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. And that goes along, I'd say, with many of the kind of center politically aligned people. They're most likely not going to be super hawkish. There may be specific conflicts they agree with and say, hey, we should dump all the money towards Ukraine versus instead of Israel, or vice versa. Do you support continued funding for any of the following conflicts? Ukraine, Israel, or neither?
No, I do support funding for Ukraine and Israel.
Okay.
But not to the elimination of things that should be supported in this country, or more than things like border security. I mean, if we're putting more money, I think, into Ukraine than we are into our own border security.
Exactly.
Now, I don't mind Ukraine being supported. I think it's important, and Israel, but not to the exclusion of securing our own borders, whether they be the southern borders, the northern borders, you name it. Because without borders, we don't have a country.
Exactly.
And it's getting to be more and more that way. But I would support some funding to Ukraine and Israel.
What presidential candidate during this New Hampshire primary cycle did you support the most before most of them dropped out? Which one did you most closely support?
Well, I like Tim Scott.
Tim Scott?
Yeah, I did. I would have supported him if he had made it to the primary. I actually voted for Nikki Haley.
Yep. Well, things totally changed. I actually did the survey before the primary, so I got to tweak that one. So, all right. So how anxious does this presidential election make you? Not at all anxious to very anxious on a scale of 1 to 10.
Well, very anxious in the sense that I do not want the incumbent to win. That is for sure. I'm not so sure about Donald Trump either, but given the choice of the two evils, I think I would opt for Trump. I'm certainly not voting for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, under any circumstances. And I would not vote for a third-party candidate either, no matter who it is, because that person is not winning.
So 7? So 7? I'll put a 7. I hear the music. So Elon Musk, the man of the hour for the last 6 months for some reason,
right?
Because he can't keep his mouth shut, kind of like Trump. What most closely resembles your opinion of Elon Musk? I have some entertaining ways of phrasing him.
Okay.
Evil oligarch, idiot that is only there because he is rich, flawed entrepreneur, our South African hero, Elon who, or inventor. Look, when you think of Musk overall, what is like the thing you think of him as?
Well, I think of him as an inventor. I really do. I mean, he's a little bit of a whack job from time to time, but most geniuses are, and I would have to put him in that category, that he is just a genius with some of the things that he has been able to develop over the years. Now, I know some people, he rubs some people the wrong way, and I get that, but you cannot diminish what he has been able to accomplish in his life, and the wealth that he's been able to accrue,
bananas
as well. So I kind of admire the guy. I've nothing against Elon Musk. I mean, some of his views might be, different than mine, but generally speaking, I think he's kind of an amazing guy.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. It's obvious he has social issues. Like he not interact well with people. He just blurts it out. He's just listening to him talk. Like he's most likely he's autistic in some way. Most likely, I don't know if he's ever been diagnosed, but his social interactions are really weird, and he just blurts out very black and white things, which goes along with that sort of thing.
And and that rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's like Trump. It really is. It doesn't know when to stop.
Well, it's Steve Jobs.
Yeah,
like that was the entirety of Steve Jobs. He was a terrible person to work for, but he changed our technology industries in the United States of America. There was no way around it.
Right.
And Musk has done that ever since PayPal. People forget. He was one of the couple guys that owned PayPal and brought it to what it is. And that's why he originally, X was his original thing he was going to do back in the day, but he ended up selling PayPal instead and making an ungodly amount of money and going into space travel and satellite technology and Tesla and all these other industries he's invested in.
You think about it. I mean, he's done just incredible things, and his personality might leave quite a bit to be desired, but his accomplishments certainly do not.
So next up here, where do you feel like you've gotten most of your political values from? Family, friends, education, work, a political figure, your religion, or is this something you feel like you've really just put together yourself?
I think it's mostly family. I think it comes from my family, and not that they were staunch screaming Republicans, but I do remember when I was 6 years old. And living in Melrose, Massachusetts, they had a Republican headquarters in Melrose, and I used to go down there and get all the bumper stickers and the political pins I could possibly get, and I put these stickers on the wall, much to the chagrin of my mother, on the wall of my room. This was when Richard Nixon was running for president against John F. Kennedy. All right. And, of course, growing up in Massachusetts, Kennedy was a god. And even then, even long before Watergate, Nixon was hated by many, many people, especially in left-leaning states like Massachusetts. Of course, I didn't know what that meant, really, at the time. How certain states were more Democrat and other states are more Republican. I didn't get that at the time.
I think most states and people were that way.
Yeah.
I think the internet's destroyed it.
Yeah.
It's destroyed the culture of debate and politics in this country.
Yeah.
People I think cable news was the early stages. It was like baby internet, where you started to have national outlets to be able to really have 24/7 news output. But when you throw the internet in, where it's decentralized, and guess what? AJ here is part of the problem with the decentralized media, with very specific opinions. But I feel like these outlets have never been straightforward with what they're trying to push.
Yeah, no, I mean, very true. Every outlet has some kind of a leaning.
Yeah, 100%.
Without question. Even if it's very subtle, they do. And certainly that's probably the way with every podcast that's out there,
100%.
or any radio show, for that matter. But I was a big. Because my parents were Republicans, and I'm not saying they were really staunch Republicans, but they were members of the Republican Party, and I was pulling for Nixon to win in 1960, and I remember going to school the morning after the election, and this was in 1960. And I was not very old at that time. I think I was going to first grade or kindergarten, whatever it was. But I wanted Nixon to win. And we didn't know that morning. When I went to school that morning, I did not know who won because they all the ballots hadn't been tallied. And there was a very close race in 1960. And then when I got home and found out that JFK won, I was shattered. I was shattered, even in Massachusetts, that Nixon lost. But that's I definitely from my parents is how I got my leanings.
So how would you, this is the last question, how would you classify yourself in your social life? So this is a very internet-oriented responses I have in here. I was being sarcastic because that's me. Keyboard warrior, the internet's be evil, you're a golden child that's happy being online and also periodically gets out there and touches grass, or a hermit and you only socialize with people online.
No, I rather socialize with people in person than online. I think I'm on the internet more because I do what I do. If I didn't have this job, or honestly wasn't interested in sports, I probably wouldn't be on the internet much at all, whether it be social media or websites that I go to or what have you. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm doing this show and have to stay a little bit in touch, or just for my own recreation, follow certain sports teams, and you want to get information on them from the internet as well. But no, I would rather socialize personally with people than on the internet.
Yeah, and it's in love with the internet and floating around on Twitter as I am, that's where it should be, and you got to find that balance. Like for me, that balance is my family, and I don't post online for my family stuff really anymore because I want to just focus on that and turn it off. My wife hates politics in the news; she doesn't pay attention to any of it, so I get it out on there and with the channel at NewEnglandTake.com and such, and try and have a healthy debate on there, but you gotta shut off. I go camping, there's no internet, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't care about it at all, really, if I didn't have this job and have to stay on top of it to a certain extent. Anyway, but it is, I will say it is a very useful tool if it's used properly.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a great way of reaching people.
It is.
It's a great way.
There's no doubt about that.
Like I have strange opinions that I've had a few op-eds in the Union Leader and the Concord Monitor. That's been interesting to see the response I get from it, because I don't have a traditional MAGA or conservative Republican opinion on things. I'm definitely not of the left. I'm not progressive on pretty much any topic. But people should feel free to speak out and have their opinions and not be afraid of pushback. We should have healthy debates in this country, and that's what I'm hoping to kind of do with this crazy little outlet I started this past year, is kind of get different opinions out there.
Now, I've got to ask you a question. It's going to happen, I think, next Tuesday, a week from today, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to name his running mate. So do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, it was floated that it might be Aaron Rodgers and Jesse the Body Ventura.
He better not have either of those two people, for starters.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting Tulsi or someone like that. Someone of that nature, and anti-establishment left person is going to be. Because people think he's a conservative or a libertarian. He is not. He's a far left guy that just is anti-establishment. I guarantee he's going to get someone like that.
I would hate to see Tulsi wasted on him.
Exactly.
Really,
me too. I love Tulsi. Tulsi's great. I've supported her for a long time. She was the most interesting person the last presidential election cycle to me. But I don't know. I don't think she. Unfortunately, this is not her cycle. I'd love it if Trump got her in, but I just don't see that happening. If she is a VP candidate, it's probably gonna be Kennedy, in my opinion.
Okay. And
sorry.
I know, I'd be heartbroken. But what about Trump? Who's he gonna have?
He's gonna have someone boring. He's gonna do the Pence thing again. I don't. He would have already gotten someone interesting in there if it was gonna be someone interesting. It's gonna be someone boring.
Somebody boring.
Yeah,
somebody boring like a Ron DeSantis or
someone who's been quiet. If I had to guess, it's gonna be someone who's quiet. He doesn't want people who've spoken out. He's full 10 out of 10 Trump right now, and he's gonna do that straight to election day. The focus will be on him, not the VP.
All right, you've heard it from AJ Kierstead, and you can hear more, or at least read more, on NewEnglandTake.com. Very entertaining website, or on X as well, at New England Take. So, AJ, thanks. Always great to have you in studio.
Thanks for having me on.
And thank you for listening and being informed this morning by AJ Kierstead here on WKXL, NHTalkRadio.com. Remember, always look on the bright side of life. And we are presented by Northeast Delta Dental. Have a great day, everybody.